Hello everyone. This is my effort at I wish I had been there, and I'm talking about where I live now at 97 Crookshank Street and what it would have been like in 1901. And I'll read you what I have found out. So we moved to Unit 7, 97 Crookshank Street in July 2011, and were made aware that the business of the site was firstly as a stables and then as a carrier company. Our unit is on the street and the outer wall has 2 louvered windows and an entry that is half of an archway, which would have been part of the main entrance. I would like to be able to somehow transport myself to stand in front of our place in July 1901 so that I can see what it was like 110 years ago on the same day that we moved in. I imagine there would have been plenty of activity with horses and drays coming and going, as well as people in the local dairy and possible woodyard going about their business. It would have been smelly, not only from the activities in this part of the street, but maybe from the perpetual infilling of the lagoon, the starch factory production, and even a waft of baking from swallows, as well as plenty of smoke from homes and general street dust. The local watering hole, the Cricketers Arms, was probably doing a roaring trade with locals seeking some relief from the hard work of their days. In July 1901, there may have been a bit of extra excitement about the place because of the earlier celebration of our infant country's federation. Maybe there was even some leftover patriotic bunting adorning some of the nearby cottages. In the City of Port Phillip's Heritage Review of 1998, 95 to 107 Crookshank Street is described as being of local and historical significance because of its continuous association since the 1880s with the carriers R. Knight Proprietary Limited, one of the few sites in Port Melbourne with such a long association, as well as the building demonstrating the previous diversity of activity in the area. The brick facade is said to be representative of 19th century industrial construction, which contrasts with adjacent corrugated iron buildings. By way of background, Robert Knight was an Irishman who arrived in Australia in 1853 and started his carrying business in 1854. He prospered and by the late 1880s headed an operation that consisted of premises in Flinders Street West at the corner of Queen Street and right on the then wharf. It was said that the business accommodated about 100 horses and a number of lorries, drays and timber lorries, and at one stage had dumped and carried 75,000 bales of wool. Bit hard to imagine. The Port Melbourne stables of Robert Knight and Company were constructed in 1888-89. By 1890, the site consisted of 64 stall brick and iron stables, as well as a 4-roomed wood house at 95 Crookshank Street, which was occupied by Knight's foreman. My search of the Sands and McDougall directories found that in 1901, the foreman residing at 95 was John T. Henwood, and the location was listed as Knight's Stables. Further along the street at 107, John W. Perkin was listed as residing at Knight's Carrier Yard on the corner of Spring Street. I guess these 2 gentlemen would have had plenty of work to keep them occupied. I'm chuffed to think that the front of our place was built so long ago, 131 years ago today, and makes its own contribution to the street's history. In 1954, the site had a number of purposes. The stables were listed at 95, the foreman's timber house, 97 to 107 was the Oliver Davey glass factory, and Knight's Yard was at 107. In more recent local memory, Knight's Proprietary Limited operated the whole site as carriers, and our Historical Society archives holds photographs of the place in the 1970s and 80s. How lucky are we that we have so many records that have been kept and helped to create an imaginary picture of daily life so long ago. The timber house at the corner, that was the foreman's cottage. And the archway on the right-hand side is where we live.